is the White Rabbit?
It's Bray Wyatt.
What could these teasers possibly mean?
It's Bray Wyatt.
Well, the mystery will be solved this weekend at
it's Bray Wyatt.
At WWE Extreme Rules 2022.
Support WrestleTalk!
Hello, I'm Ollie Davis. I'm joined by Luco and DAD. If you haven't already, please press the subscribe button because apparently there's this theory going around that Bray Wyatt is going to return to WWE this weekend.
And subscribing to WrestleTalk is the best way to know first about it and get all of the backstage news about how it all comes together.
Plus, our immediate reactions of the show and my full review up right after. Right, so, do you think Bray Wyatt will show up on Extreme Rules?
Now, this is going to be one of those things where WWE have not said that he is going to be on this show. They haven't even said Bray. They've not said the White Rabbit will be on the show this week. But it's been heavily implied through the QR code videos that Extreme Rules is going to be the show that he shows up on, or whoever the White Rabbit is. It's Bray Wyatt, but whoever the White Rabbit is. So I think yes, because I think if it's not, I think there will be a group of people, whether rightly or wrongly, will be massively disappointed that there's no. I think there may be people tuning into this show just for that White Rabbit reveal.
100%. And we've got numbers to back this up, which is the best way to win any argument. You know, when you pull out a load of numbers, and go, look at all these. So the Bray Wyatt teases, the White Rabbit teases were happening, and in the early days, it would just indicate a time and a place. And people figured out that one of those times and places was like 9:16 p.m. at that Friday's SmackDown. That Friday's SmackDown, which is about 2 weeks ago, got a monster rating. Like the biggest SmackDown viewership figure in a couple of years. Up 400,000 people. That's like a 20-25% increase.
You're welcome for that, by the way, because we had a WrestleTalk news saying debut this Friday. So if you Triple H, you know, I like donuts and muffins, so you can send those in the post.
So that, unfortunately, that level of viewership was not maintained because ultimately that tease was revealed to be a tease for another tease, which was, well, now you want to tune into Raw. And then Raw's was, you might want to watch SmackDown. I think this is a good way.
I think it's great.
I like how they're drip feeding this. And in an ideal world, I don't think you pull the trigger at Extreme Rules. You keep the anticipation going. But you've got to look at the numbers. And the numbers don't lie. They spell disaster, Samoa Joe, for you at Sacrifice. Because those 400,000 people who tuned into that SmackDown didn't watch Raw. Nor did they watch the next week's SmackDown. So really, numerically, WWE missed the peak of interest.
I think that, like, I'll be honest, going by like Twitter reactions as well, which I know you can't really judge a lot of things on. There has been less chatter about the White Rabbit since like those first weeks of it happening. Like when they did the first QR code on Raw, and then a guy walked. It was the show they did in Anaheim, I think. And then a guy walked in the background holding up another sign which had a QR code on it. That interest was like huge, really, really big. And I think since then it's less and less so. Like I checked Twitter this morning, no one's posting the QR code that was on Raw this week. Like no one's talking about it now. So I agree with you, actually. I think we have sort of missed the peak of its popularity. And if you delay it Extreme Rules, like if at Extreme Rules, it's just another QR code to say, watch the season premiere of Raw, which could well be the case because they want the season premiere of Raw to be a really big show. I think you may just leave a lot of people despondent and actually actively annoyed by the constant watch the next thing, watch the next thing, watch the next thing.
I think WWE should play this slow, and they've gone out of their way to not explicitly say it's happening. So I would counsel us and everyone watching not to expect full-on storyline, I'm back. But I think the next development of a tease is the smartest and narratively fulfilling way to go. Should we do the actual card?
Let's go through it. It's a 6-match card. We'll kick things off with the SmackDown Women's Championship match, an Extreme Rules match between the champion Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. Uh-oh, the chair's back and... Got to do the big sell. I would argue that the booking of Liv Morgan since Triple H has taken over has been, I'm not going to use the word bad, but not optimum.
Liv has been one of those people you would have expect to have succeeded under Triple H, but then you remember, was she actually in NXT that long? Or at all?
And she was, but she didn't really do much.
Yeah, so it's quite obvious. She's had this Ronda Rousey threat looming over her because she cashed in the briefcase to get it from Rousey. She's never really fully looked credible as the champion. We've all just been waiting for Ronda to get her rematch and presumably win it back. And I think that's my prediction. I think Ronda's going to win, which is very unfortunate because the story they've been telling is that Lacey has no killer instinct.
Liv, not Lacey.
Sorry, yeah, because
Lacey's not even been there. I would like to see Liv retain here. Because I think if Rousey just wins, this has been a dreadful championship run for Liv Morgan and has done her zero favours to the point where you've almost Seth Rollins did. It's like, well, now we've just got to turn her heel because we've got no other option. But if Liv wins, I would like to see her win decisively and convincingly. But Ronda is the biggest star here. The next big show we've got is Crown Jewel. So Ronda as champion going into Crown Jewel makes way more sense than Liv Morgan. Up next, it's Matt Riddle versus Seth freaking Rollins in a fight pit match with Daniel Cormier as the special guest referee. Matt Riddle wins. Seth Rollins blames Daniel Cormier for the loss. Seth Rollins beats Bobby Lashley on Raw and wins the United States Championship. And it's Seth Rollins versus Daniel Cormier for the US title at Crown Jewel.
You've just become a sports entertainer.
Thank
Congratulations. That is the way to book.
Because I was looking at this and I was like, man, like Rollins, I was writing my notes like, well, Rollins needs to win at Fight Pit because he's got the US title match the following night. And I was like, oh no, he's got the US title match the following night to rehabilitate the loss he's going to suffer in the Fight Pit. So, and then I was like, well, who's he going to face at Crown? Daniel Cormier's right there, and you can use that as a storyline. Now, I will say, I posted this up on Twitter, and everyone said, you're missing the big picture. It's Daniel Cormier versus Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel, which I think is also totally reasonable. But I think there's a better storyline here, feeding out of Fight Pit, to do Rollins versus Cormier. And Cormier's a massive Rollins fan as well.
I think Cormier is definitely going to get involved in some. Well, he's a special guest referee, but physically unfairly involved.
You say that, but Jeff Jarrett didn't get involved at SummerSlam, and he was the special guest referee.
Good point. But I think Daniel Cormier's always wanted to get in the ring. He was going to be a pro wrestler with TNA before he got into MMA. So he's a big wrestling fan. I think this is the start of him becoming a WWE Logan Paul, Bad Bunny style part-time performer.
Brought in for SummerSlam, brought in for Mania, brought in for the Saudi shows.
Which is great. I think that's a really smart move by them. Matt Riddle's got to win. It's his stipulation. He lost the previous match. This makes them one apiece. And then if Seth's got the US title, I think you go off of that and you have Riddle versus Rollins for the US title. I don't know if you go right into Rollins versus Cormier at Crown Jewel.
I think that feels like a Crown Jewel match more than a rematch between these two. I also think this is the end of the feud.
Okay.
I think this
one apiece.
Well, I think that Triple H wants to use Fight Pit as his new Hell in a Cell because they gave it a massive video package on Raw to highlight this is like the big new stipulation that we're trying to sell people on. And I think he wants to use this as a feud ender. It only gets brought out like once a year, maybe even not even once a year, to be like, oh man, I cannot believe that the feud has got so intense. We have to go into this location. And I think this ends the feud between the two of them.
And by 2026, WWE presents to you its latest premium live event, Fight Pit. Every match is a Fight Pit.
Works so well for TNA and Lockdown.
For the 24/7 title. Fight Pit!
So you got Riddle as well?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got Riddle too. Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross in a strap match. Thankfully, it's not a fireball match. What do you reckon for this one?
I think Drew is incredibly protected, but this is so was Kross in NXT. This is his first proper test. Kross needs to win. I think you can get around that with Scarlett Bordeaux interfering. The strap match stipulation allows for some shenanigans. I think Drew can lose. Although, God, he did lose at Clash at the Castle. I don't know, to be honest. But if I look at the overall picture, Kross needs this more than Drew. So I'm going to go with Kross.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think Kross, this is his first big pay-per-view match. And I think you want to give him a big win over Drew McIntyre. Choke him out with the cross jacket, and then, I think they'll go with Cross here. I'd like to see Drew win, but I think we're going to try and cool off Drew somewhat before we build him back up again for another title match. And we'll go with Cross for a while. I think they're going to have a rematch in Crown Jewel. That's where Drew gets the win.
Okay.
Up next, Bianca Belair, the champion, defending against Bayley with Damage Control in a ladder match.
I am going to go for Bayley purely because I think that having all the belts in Control would look awesome. And look, the real reason is because Tempest said before I went in here, I booked a really good finish for that match. I said, what is it? And he said, Bayley ties Belair's braid around the bottom rung of the ladder and she can't stop Bayley getting to the top. I was like, okay, Bayley's winning.
Here's my finish to follow on from that is Bianca Belair realizes that she can't climb up the ladder. Bayley's there yucking it up as the heel as she climbs up. Belair gets off and she uses her braid to tip the ladder over.
Could also
ripping
happen.
her own head off in the process, I would imagine.
Or because she's so strong, her hair just picks up the ladder, dumps Bayley out.
I'm quite confident in Belair retaining,
to
be honest. Up next, it's the Brawling Brutes of Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch versus Imperium of Gunther, Ludwig Kaiser, and Giovanni Vinci in a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match.
Put the belt on Sheamus. We're going to lump in some SmackDown predictions because that's this Friday before this show that Sheamus and Gunther are fighting for the Intercontinental title. One of the best matches in WWE in years. Since that Clash at the Castle match, Sheamus has just felt renewed.
It's become my favourite thing on SmackDown. Like, if the Bloodline aren't on the show, in full force and on the show, this is the best thing on SmackDown every week.
I cannot wait. So I think, hopefully, Sheamus wins the Intercontinental title on Friday, and then the Imperium can get the win in this six-man tag, and you can keep this feud going.
I think Gunther retains the Intercontinental title on SmackDown, and the Brawling Brutes pick up the win here to set up Sheamus versus Gunther for the title at Crown Jewel, and that's where Sheamus wins.
But then Sheamus has lost singles matches twice.
Yeah, but then he's won a six-man tag, and then he wins the belt in Saudi Arabia. And lastly, I didn't expect this to be one of the big talking points, but it actually has become. It's Edge versus Finn Balor in an I Quit match.
I feel like Balor needs this. I really feel like Edge doesn't.
Edge 100% does not need this win.
Because I thought Edge came back and said, I want to work with all these young guys and I want to put you all over. And I went back and had a look. This is reverse chronological order. So the young people he's beaten most recently to last year. Dominic Mysterio, Damian Priest, both members of Judgment Day at Clash at the Castle. AJ Styles, twice. Maurice and The Miz in singles competition, and then Seth Rollins. The last time Edge lost was the 10th of September last year to Seth Rollins on SmackDown.
Yeah.
I think Edge needs to put over Balor here.
And I think he will. There was that WrestleVotes report that said that Finn Balor is being groomed to be like one of the top guys in WWE. And I think the win he got on Raw, a dominant win over AJ and Ray, sets him up here to also get this big win over Edge. Edge can go away for a while. And I think that Triple H is all in on Judgment Day. He really, really loves that group. They open most weeks of Raw. They get long promo segments. It's like DX and the regime back in the day. And they're now starting this feud with AJ. I think we're going to see Gallows and Anderson come back, and we're going to do some Bullet Club stuff, which Triple H also really likes, and we'll do some faction warfare between those two groups. And I think he is all in on Balor and Judgment Day, that he's going to get a big win here. I think Balor... I'm actually pretty confident Balor wins.
What are your predictions for Extreme Rules? Let us know your picks in the comments down below. Maybe do some fantasy booking of the White Rabbit. And also, please do press the subscribe button because we'll have a review, we'll have our immediate reactions, we'll have backstage news coming right up after Extreme Rules.
If the White Rabbit does debut, we're going to have all of the backstage news surrounding that on a WrestleTalk news episode, so you will want to subscribe for that.
But for now, I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Luke Owen, DAD. Jam that jam.